Schroeder, and I'll be the chair tonight. I'm actually the vice chair. The chair has recused himself, and that's why I'm sitting in today. This is the Village of Pinehurst Historical Preservation Commission meeting, and welcome. This is Thursday, September 10th, 2020, meeting of the Village of Pinehurst Historical Preservation Commission. Present are Peter Hughes, Senior Planner, Peter Hughes, who's the Senior Planner, I don't get this right yet, and Kelly Brown, Planning and Administrative Assistant for the staff here tonight. I would like the board member, the commissioners, to please, starting with on my right, please identify yourself for the record.
Terry Lurch.
Ann Lucy.
David Herring.
I'm Tom Schroeder.
Richard Vincent.
Okay, thank you. And we are missing John Taylor, who said he was tied up and wouldn't be able to make it tonight. So that's the status of the whole board. We have a quorum, so we will proceed. The purpose of the Historical Preservation Commission is to approve certificates of appropriateness for new construction or major work, and to do so by conducting hearings and findings of fact when applications come before us. Our mission is to take no action except to preserve and approve that which is congruous with the special character of the Village of Pinehurst Historical District. This is a quasi-judicial hearing, so anyone desiring to testify must be sworn in, and we are required to consider only facts presented in this hearing. These procedures are video recorded, so we ask that everyone speaking please do so using the provided microphones. I would like to go around starting with my left, and please have each commissioner identify any site visits and ex parte communication they may have had.
Visited the site, no ex parte communication.
I also visited the site and have no ex parte communication.
Visited the site, no communications.
I also visited the site and no communications.
I visited because I drive past it every day.
Okay. Fair enough. All right, we will swear in, start with the staff. Peter, do you swear or affirm that the testimony you shall give shall be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I do.
Please state your name for the record.
Peter Hughes, Senior Planner, Village of Pinehurst.
Folks, I would start, ma'am, I would like you to start with you, and please identify yourself for the record.
Do I
And
need to stand or no?
no, you can,
Okay.
you're welcome to sit.
Okay.
Peter, well, the only one we make stand is Peter over there. and that's
Cassandra
because-
Denson?
That's because he broke the computer, but anyway. Go ahead, I'm sorry, ma'am.
Cassandra Denson?
Okay.
Good evening. Brett Dunson.
Two of you, please raise your right hand. Do you swear swear or affirm that the testimony you shall give shall be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
Do.
I do.
Records show that both presenters were sworn in. Do I hear a motion to approve? Nope. Yeah, we can do that. Do I hear a motion to approve the meetings of the last minute?
Motion.
Second.
Okay, any discussion on the meetings, the minutes? Hearing none? All approved, say aye.
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 Those say no? Okay. Would somebody please make a motion to open the public hearing?
Motion.
Second.
Okay, all approved?
Aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion, we are now in a public hearing. Peter, would you please present the one and only case, I guess, tonight?
Yes, sir. Thank you. The purpose of this public hearing is to consider requests within the Pinehurst Historic District for multiple exterior modifications at 190 Linden Road. Modifications include the following: replacement of siding, replacement of windows, replacement of roofing, shingles, new garage doors, an addition of a chimney, and a front addition to the structure. This addition of the structure will also result in the removal of multiple trees. The property can be further identified in Moore County Tax Registry by Moore County PIN number 855-211-557-878. The property owners are James Williford and Michelle Maurer, and the applicants are Brett and Cassandra Dunson. Here is a front elevation photo. The one to the top right was submitted by the applicant, and then the two others were taken by staff. This is 190 Linden Road. No previous COAs have been issued for 190 Linden Road. According to the Moore County Register of Deeds, the primary structure was constructed in 1958. 190 Linden Road is not considered a contributing structure. One adjacent structure is contributing, and that's 195 Linden Road, which was constructed in 1935. This is a list of the properties that were notified. They were adjacent property owners. Once again, 195 Linden Road is the only adjacent property which is a contributing structure, and was constructed in 1935. This is the map of the notification. Identified in red is 190 Linden Road. Identified in the yellow are all the adjacent property owners. A total of 9 properties owners were notified. In addition to the owners was the applicants. This request is before the commission because new construction or additions not considered to be minor work, resurfacing buildings with different materials from which was removed, replacement of windows and doors that are not compatible with the existing windows and doors, and replacement of roofing with a different material or style from being replaced are considered major work items. The applicant's entire request includes an 1,800 square foot addition, replacement of vinyl siding with fiber cement lap siding. The chosen product is hardy board. Addition of a chimney, replacement of windows from single pane to double pane, replacement of roofing material with 35-year dimensional asphalt shingles, new garage doors, a front yard, courtyard addition, a reconfiguration of the driveway, a rear yard patio, and the removal of multiple trees. This is the site plan that was submitted as the existing site plan by the applicant. This is a zoomed out version of the site plan that's showing the addition to the front. And here's a zoomed in version. So I want to take a second to talk about this real quick. The existing property was set further back than a typical home is. So the front property line is approximately 100 feet away from the existing structure. And with the addition of the garage to the front, the property will be 64 feet. Whereas the rear of the property is 43 feet from the rear property. I mention this just because it is a little bit unique that a front property line is so far away from the street. Usually people are set further or closer to the road than this. Based on my site visit, the applicant did not indicate how many trees were coming down, but based on the site visit and the provided site plan, I noticed that 5 trees will probably be coming down as a result of the addition. Highlighted in the red image below is where the addition's going, and then this red circle dots notify the trees which are going to be coming down to accommodate the addition. The applicant provided a landscaping plan. After I reached out to them, the landscaping plan would be in conformity. They're doing more than they need to. They're adding additional plantings around the driveway to provide additional screening, and then they're meeting the standard of 50% 5-gallon and 50% 3-gallon around the foundation of the addition. These are the submitted elevations, of the front elevations. The courtyard facing garage, that addition is kind of showing what it's going to look like as though if you're standing out the front door and looking right. So if we go back to the site plan that was submitted, the garage doors will not face Linden Road. They will face interior to the lot, but they could still be visible from the street if you happen to be walking very slowly and peeking at just the right angle. The front of the road is screening heavily the front of the residence, which helps obscure the view of those garage doors. We also have a new front entry that's being proposed. The existing front entry is very modest, so the new front entry is going to bring more prominence to the character of the home. They're including some stonework and brickwork around the front entrance to kind of make that a more centralized version. Then they are adding that brickyard courtyard in the front as well. These are just zoomed in versions for your benefit so you guys can look at it and we can talk about it if we need to in more detail later on. This is the right side. The applicant did submit a photo of the right side. The property has not been taken care of over a long time, so there's a lot of landscaping and trees that have overgrown to where you can't get a clear picture of the right elevation, so this was the best that could be obtained. Here is a front elevation photo. The cupola was not shown in the elevations, but was speaking with the applicant. The cupola will remain. The cupola is not intended to come down, so the application will include the cupola the final construction will include the cupola that exists today. Here's the left side elevation and rear elevation. And once again, I've zoomed in on those for later discussion. The left elevation is shown here. Currently, the left elevation of the home features a garage, but with the garage addition coming to the front, those garage doors will go away and windows will take its place. And here's the rear proposed elevation. We have 2 photos of the existing rear elevations showing multiple windows being changed and the existing configuration of the windows. The existing floor plan, as shown, shows here. As you can see, the garage is located to the rear of the property, and with the new floor plan, we're seeing the garage moving forward, the addition of a master bedroom, fitness room, and mud room to the side of the home, left side of the Here's the roofing plan to show that a portion of the home will extend beyond the principal facade. Typically, we don't want to see that according to historic guidelines, but there are properties in the adjacent area that do have this kind of L-shaped configuration, if you will. Here are the building materials submitted by the applicant. Specific Pinehurst colors were not specified in the application. The applicant has brought a paint swatch to satisfy that. Neutral white and to gray is compliant, so what they have proposed would be compliant with our color palette. They just didn't propose a specific color, which they are going to present later. The applicant can testify to modify their application with that paint swatch to update it so it is compliant in a full application. This was the submitted building material for the roofing. In your packet, it wasn't a great quality. Here we have a better quality. I was able to lighten it through some imaging techniques. And here you can see the definition of architectural shingles, which will add depth to the roof and some character as well. These are the proposed garage doors. They are wooden garage doors. They're comparable to other garage doors within the historic district. These are the proposed front doors of the home. And this is the, double pane windows that are proposed as well. The applicant has an additional material that they'll be submitting into the record during their part of the presentation. And then here's the hardy board primed for paint. So this is primed for paint hardy. They're going to paint it with that proposed swatch we were talking about earlier, which they'll present to you later as well. At this time, staff would like to submit the following into the record: staff report, presentation, application, applicant's material, photos/site plans, and findings of fact. If you have any questions, I'll be happy to answer them.
Okay, thank you. Do any of the commissioners have any questions about the report that Peter just provided?
Ann?
Yeah, Peter, you indicated there would be no demolition, but the application checked yes, so
It did check yes.
that's what
I apologize, that was an oversight on mine.
Oh, okay.
I'll amend the staff report to reflect that demolition was
I mean,
checked.
maybe there is none, I don't know, but I was just,
Yes, it has to be in order for the renovation. So there are some demolitions in terms of the material on the outside. So obviously, the vinyl siding has to come down, the windows have to come down. Maybe have to be, roof and some reconfiguration in terms of the openings for the windows.
Okay. And
So-
we can get into that in just a moment.
Demolition in the scope of making modification,
Got
not
it, yeah.
demolition of the structure. So,
Any other questions of the report?
Yeah, you said the color swatch will come later, as in later in this meeting?
yes, they have one right there. I was just waiting for it to be passed around and her to submit her other evidence she's providing this evening.
Have any other questions of the staff report? Okay, staff report's included in the case. Thank you. Okay, folks, you have an opportunity to present whatever it is that you would like the commission to understand in this proceeding. The only thing I ask is that you please keep these fairly close to you. You don't have to eat them, put them in your mouth or anything, but just keep them close enough so it is, because this is recording, and the recording would become part of any record that needed to be made of this meeting, so that's why we asked that you do that. Okay, thank you. Please.
Okay, again, my name is Cassandra.
Nice
Swear in
one.
again.
page one, yep.
Okay.
My name is Cassandra Denson, and I'm coming before the board this evening in regards to proposed renovation and improvements on 190 London Road. My husband and myself, Brett Denson, we've recently moved to the area and are looking for a place to live. Looked at Pinehurst, like the historic district, and we were fortunate enough to be able to find a property that we could alter and make congruent with our lifestyle. So today, I guess what I want to talk about is, first of all, we appreciate you guys taking time out for the special meeting. So we appreciate the planning committee as well as you guys making time out for us today.
Because you're starting work tomorrow?
No.
I'm kidding.
He would like
Oh,
to.
today.
He would like to, but no, we're not at that point.
Yeah.
So I guess what I would like to say is that in terms of the proposed configuration for 190 Linden Road, typically, I guess it is stated in the manual that the L-shaped construction in terms of a home is not maybe necessarily typical. And riding around the historic district, we were able to find several homes that actually do have that L-shaped configuration with the garage. Some of the garage actually face the front. We also have somewhat of a taste factor where we don't like our garages typically to be towards the front, but given the layout and the parameters and the setbacks on this home and how far the original structure was placed on the lot, we were kind of left with no choice but to bring the addition towards the front and then be compliant with the setbacks. So that is in keeping in terms of why we chose to make the renovations such as they are. In terms of the other aesthetics to the home, I think we pretty much stayed within the guidelines in terms of what is requested from the historic district. The windows, I think, should be in compliance. They're not necessarily in terms of congruent with what the existing structure is right now. They have a 3/3 window package, and I'm proposing basically a 1/1 with no dividers, or if the committee has a problem with that, we could definitely do 2/2. So right now, the historic district has homes that have 1/1 with no dividers. So you guys have to let me know if there's any opposition in terms of that. I would prefer not to use dividers, but if we have to, that's not a non-starter for us. We've attempted to, I guess, upgrade the roofing in terms of going from a flat shingle to a dimensional shingle. And I think in terms of staying congruent with the aesthetics of the area, we're proposing that we use this Sherwin-Williams Drifter Mist in terms of the body. And then when you saw the dimensional shingle that was a GAF Timberline, we're going to go with the color charcoal to go along with that. Right now, the home has an existing brick skirt. And what we will be doing is adding to that on the addition and then painting the entire body of the house, the hardy as well as the brick, that Drifter Mist.
You're painting the bricks this color too, you're saying?
Yes, the entire house. And then we'll have the doors, the exterior doors, mahogany. And so I guess in terms of the L shape, going back to that, in terms of me looking at some previous filmings from the board, just trying to get an understanding of how today was going to work out. I noticed that you had approved 125 Kelly Road as well as 30 Orange Road in terms of having a similar configuration to what we're talking about, with the addition being the L shape coming towards the front with the garage. I also have a list in terms of homes that are already existing that also are similar to us, and I think I have 2, 4, 6, 7 homes and the addresses for that. And then I can pass it around. As it pertains to the cupola, I did want to make the point. The cupola, we're going to make the best attempt when we're doing the renovation to take that down and move that forward to the new proposed garage. Not, because if it stayed where it was, you wouldn't be able to see it, but we would move it towards the front, towards the new proposed garage. So I think that's pretty much what we would have to say in terms of,
One other
that's-
comment. I don't know if you want to.
so those are the homes.
For the record, can you state what I'm passing around to
Okay,
them so that they know?
okay, so right now, what Peter is going to be passing around to you guys are the homes that are similar to what we're proposing tonight. That's 125 Fields Road, 75 McCaskill Road East, 115 Graham Road, 30 Craig Road, 50 Orange Road, 54 Everett Road, and 50 Cody Road. So those are pictures of those facades taken from an aerial view that would show that L-shaped configuration.
I guess in addition to that, 2 homes that are not included in the photos are 2, I think it was 170 Linden Road, which is 2 doors down from the property 190, and then 205 Linden, which is kind of catty-corner diagonal across the street, also has that configuration. So you have 2 homes in that area that have a similar layout. And so the one other thing, first of all, Mr. Hughes did, I think, a very good job in terms of kind of describing our property and our plans or proposals. The one other thing that we would add is he mentioned in his presentation that we were taking down, I think he said 5 trees.
Correct. So
So we want to make, we total looked at 9 trees, okay? So in addition to the 5 that he spoke to, there were 4 others, and they're on the sides, 5 that he spoke to were where the addition would go. The others were around, close to the house, and where we think are very close to the house, and do show some signs of where disease, we didn't have that arborists come out and check it yet, but just looking at the limbs and the way they're angled, they're moving toward the house. And one of them is in the back, is a very large tree that's top is taken out of it. I mean, it's dead, basically. So those would be the ones that we speak of. And
Read that in the record real quick, what I'm giving them.
Okay, so right now, what Peter is going to be giving to you guys is the proposal of the 9 trees that we want to have removed, showing the proximity to the structures. And again, the 5 in the front are because they're where the addition is going to be. The remainder are 1 in the rear is already dead, and 2 is so close to the home that, from a just safety perspective, they need to come down.
so what you have now is just, the first page is an aerial view of the houses with the proposed trees. Not get one. With the proposed trees circle, and then more from a front-on, straight-on view of each of those trees, and numbering them so that you can correlate and cross-reference it.
So that's it for me. If you guys have any questions, we will attempt to answer them.
Okay. For you, sir, have you got anything to show?
That would be all.
Okay, thank you. Commissioners, do you have any questions?
Anybody in the audience? Anybody in the audience? Okay.
I just have a question, quick question. I love that you did your homework, though. So much appreciated, I can't tell you. So I think you have really carried the burden, but I just had a question. It's a new chimney? Seem to be conflicting evidence here that you're using either Hardie or brick, I don't know. You want to
So-
choose either
Yes.
as you go along?
As we go along, and obviously, it's going to be, some things are going to be cost-driven, and so until you do your takeout, takeoff on the, really, some things right now are a little bit unknown in terms of those cost factors. I would want to do brick, but it might just come down to an economics where I'm left with just, using the Hardie because of the economics of it.
I would just like to state for the record that box chimneys are not allowed per the guidelines, but you guys can approve it because you're the commission. So if you guys do that, you'll have to choose the second motion when you're deciding to approve this case. All right? Thank you.
But it is a new chimney, is that correct? It's
That is a
not
new-
the existing.
It is a new chimney.
That's
Existing
correct.
one will be torn down.
That
and
is
the new one will
correct.
come in on the piece that comes out
Yes.
from the existing house. Okay. Because it looks like, in some of the drawings at least, that the one that's in there now, all you see is from the roof line up. The one you're talking about putting in looks like you'll see the back of the chimney all the way from the ground to the top. Is that correct?
That's
That would be
correct.
correct.
I noticed on the right side where you're adding the garage, you got a 2-car garage and a golf cart garage?
The left side,
No, yeah.
It's on the right side.
Depends on your reference.
okay.
Yeah.
Is that a golf cart garage?
No, that's intended to be a 3rd-car garage.
It's what?
A full car garage. So 3-car garage. So one single.
Oh, okay.
And then the double.
I was going to tell you that golf carts are not allowed on Linden Road. So, just a matter of information.
Doesn't mean you can't put one in, a golf cart door in if you want, but he is correct.
Yeah, no, it's intended, it is a 3rd-car, full-car garage.
Very good.
3-car
Okay.
garage.
Windows, wood or aluminum? I'm sure David was, I didn't mean to step on you.
No, you're doing great. Thanks for the help.
Do you have a color choice?
The color choice preference,
Wood, I'm imagining.
It's wood,
mahogany
it's-
stain, if it's
no,
aluminum.
not mahogany stain. So it's going to be a wood window, or it's going to be the aluminum clad. So I have a choice of 2, and one of the ones that I'm looking at is the JELWYN W2500, which is a traditional window, which is used a lot in historical applications. And if I don't do that, then I'll come back with a wood window, similar to what we have that's existing now. It's a single pane, but I would come back with a double pane, low E, and I would paint that black. So it's going to be one of the 2, black windows.
You have an additional material item there?
Yes. And so I have an additional copy of the Jeld-Wen, W2500, showing that window with the aluminum clad on the outside, wood on the inside. And if we go with that window, it would be the black aluminum clad. If I go with the all-wood window, it would be black, painted black.
It's the one that's denoted by the highlighter,
Yes,
correct?
it is the one denoted by the yellow highlight.
Thank you.
Peripheral to the windows, you are not putting shutters back on, is correct? Because it does have shutters now. Okay. I just asked because it said that in here, and I. There's a
It
good-
says it there, too.
What would you class, sort of modern farmhouse? Is that sort of the look you're going for here?
Wouldn't,
That's even a,
to me, it's more like a low country style house. The only exception to that, I guess it would be the brick, but once the brick is painted, it's more like that, but, that's what I would say.
Ask a few questions. Could we start with the blow up with the elevations, Peter?
Which elevation would you like to see
Doesn't
first?
matter. A couple of precursor questions have to do with just the basic geometry. First, I want to second Ann's comment about your preparation. Really well done. The thing I struggle with most is the sketchiness, shall I say, of the drawings. Listening to your proposal, looking at the material choices, all of that to me looks fantastic. The basic geometry, I have no problem with the L-shaped garage. It's perfectly fine as far as I'm concerned. The question really is that I'm not really sure what it will look like based on the sketchiness of the drawings. What I'd like to do is go through and ask you a few questions about the drawings. I'm hoping I can get to a point where I can guess what it will look like. And I know you're in the early stages, and that's why it's sketchy, but very difficult for me to render an opinion with sketchy drawings. So starting with this one, the one that Peter has up, the garage doors. You have an enlarged photo of some sample garage doors. They look like they're swinging doors as opposed to panel doors. Are they panelized doors?
They're rolling doors.
Rolling doors, sectional,
Sectional.
Yes.
panel
ordinary
rolling
section.
up.
So the joint in the middle of the photo, that's part of the design of the door, or is that a photo of something else? That doesn't look to me like a sectional door at all,
No, but you probably can't see the lines in between the panel,
okay?
but it is a rolling door.
Okay, so in the fat sections of the
Yes, in the
frames,
back, yes.
Right here, there's those faint lines.
there's a line there?
The line.
That allows it to roll.
yep.
Yeah.
Right.
I hope. So just want to make sure I'm clear. And is that plywood on the face of the door, or what is that
Now,
material?
that I can't answer, but it's going to be a door that's going to be congruous with the front door. So
Same.
all of my exterior doors on the outside of the house are definitely mahogany. I don't know if that's going to be a skim, because I have to check back with the manufacturer to see how they're doing. I don't know if it's solid. I know the doors are solid mahogany.
Okay, but the goal is they're all, essentially, they look like mahogany, be it stained,
Yes.
some other species,
That is correct.
and roughly speaking, that color.
Very similar to that. It's,
Okay.
Most mahogany, the richness of the wood, you don't do anything to it but put it on a clear coat. And then the color comes through and it's somewhat of a brown, maybe a little bit darker than that, but not terribly much so.
Okay, back to the elevations, please. Let's start with the front elevation. Looking closely at the plan and the elevation, it looks like the 1, 2, 3 groupings of windows closest to the front door have clear story at the top. Is that right?
A transom?
If I look at the dimension on the right, it looks like it's 10 feet from the floor to the underside of the boxed eave, right?
That is correct.
So if I look at that, and
You're asking me about the ceiling height on the first floor? I mean, we're only on there's only one floor, but it's a 10-foot
that's-
ceiling height.
the ceiling itself is 10 feet.
That is correct.
Okay. The windows under the walls that support the roof, as drawn, where the top of the clear story is just under the boxed eave, I'm not quite sure how you're going to make that work. There's no room for a header up there. So vertically speaking, it's difficult for me to imagine what it'll look like when the window is located in such a fashion that you can get a header in there. See
Well,
what I
okay,
mean?
the drawing might, but obviously you have to have a header.
Yeah, so it would have a header. So again, it goes back to your point, and I understand your questions relative to the sketch versus the final rendition of the plans. But yes, it would have the
The
header.
header. So,
Yes.
which would lower the window in very broad strokes, something like a foot from the way it's drawn.
Yeah,
So there would be some siding
Header.
above the window. Okay. And the trim around the windows, how fat or narrow, or is there any, or what kind of trim is there?
Don't know about the bandwidth. I don't think, the architect did not, at this point in the stage, he has not designated what that width would be.
It's not there yet.
No.
Okay. And will there be corner boards? In some cases, it looks like there are corner boards, and in other cases, no corner boards. The real question is, will all the outside corners be the same?
yes.
Okay. So if I try to imagine those three groups of windows lowered, the muntin between the clear story and the main window would, normally that would be at the, if you were to strike a horizontal line through your house, that would be at the top of the normal windows, the top of the front door, and so on. Everything would line up with that line. And in some of your elevation, it looks like that's your intent, that the tops of the windows, setting aside the clear story, all line up. Is that right?
That's right.
Yes.
Okay. So if those windows are to come down visually, then all the other windows come down also, right?
Maintain that elevation. Yes.
I think you're getting to understand my difficulty based on the sketching is to understand what it really will look like. I can imagine it, but I can't see it. The roof slope over the front door, the new little gable that you're adding, that's all brick, right? That whole structure around the front door is brick? And it's all painted.
That is correct.
Good. My only concern there is that the steepness of the little gable over the front door seems incongruous or not harmonious with the nice, it looks like 512 or 612 slope of the rest of it. I mean, the rest of it is very, very simple and clean and very nicely done, except for that little steepness. To me, that looks a little out of harmony with the rest of the slope. Might be better to bring it down a little.
Okay, well, the intent of drawing, and I don't know if it's going to show on the roof line, if it shows actually what that one section of the roof, I don't know if it has the slope and the run on.
Yeah, it's definitely steeper. You can see that line is not
And
45.
then again, the intent there from the architectural standpoint was to make the front a little bit more prominent, to draw your eyes to it, so that's where it was, that's why that surface area is where it is.
I see.
That was the intent.
Maybe the spring line needs just to move up so you get that vertical height you're looking for, but the slope might match the others.
Okay.
And as you're developing the plan. There are a couple of windows. Your suggested window, they look like simple double hungs, very clean double hungs. I have no problem with not having muntins. That's perfectly fine with me, particularly for a little ranch like this, which I think is really, really nice. There are a couple of windows, though, that don't seem to lend themselves to double hungs. There, thank you, Peter, right there. Just below the chimney in that recess.
Bathroom.
But that's not a double hung, right? It's just
No, it's a
fixed.
bathroom.
Would it make sense to have its aspect ratio more like the other windows?
And it's a bathroom.
Still could be high, maybe 2 squares instead of one long rectangle, maybe. Just things to think about in terms of how to make those various shapes in harmony with each other. Next elevation. This helps point up the problem of trying to get all the windows to align, where the windows on the left seem to be at one elevation, the windows single window on the garage there seems quite low, but my understanding is the intent is they all line up. Okay. The other thing that's a little unique, which I think could be really spectacular, depending on how it's treated right on its front face, is the little courtyard facing the front. Peter, I don't know how that fits in the guidelines, but it seems to me like about that little courtyard, what you put in the very front edge of that courtyard, whether it's landscaping material, or whether there's some kind of a structure there, I don't know if you've gotten that far along.
We thought just that, we could have some type of landscape and a shrub, or maybe even a little knee wall that's in keeping with the aesthetics of the front.
And what will be, the only thing that concerns me about the front-facing terrace is stuff that's out of our responsibility, like purple polka dot umbrella,
That's not in my aesthetic.
chartreuse chairs.
You're correct, that's a little beyond our scope.
Right.
So,
But you can see, my
Well,
point is,
what I would say as an interior designer, I would never do anything so atrocious.
Good.
No. That's not in my aesthetic.
Better get rid of my polka dot umbrella.
But-
And then again, too. you know,
Definitely not the front of my home.
As it was stated, there is a lot of, it's a bluff, a blind there, it's heavily wooded there in front of, it's got a lot of foliage and stuff, so unless you're at the driveway, you know, sitting there looking in, you really don't see the house.
yeah, it's hard to see now.
But
It
you
is.
know,
hard to see right now. I was gonna
What's
say, I drove
offensive
by it the first time.
is one's opinion, right?
Yes,
I
exactly.
might love it, you may hate it.
That's
but yeah.
the issue, yeah. I guess the other thing is that this is going to be such a wonderful improvement over what's there. I'm inclined to be really flexible. So we
I
appreciate you
would never
doing
do
that.
a purple polka dot umbrella.
Good. I'm with
letting
you.
us know, but that is clearly outside the scope of this, of our,
It's just that putting a front-facing terrace opens the door for stuff like that.
Yes.
Yeah.
And I know people do crazy things, but no, we're not those people.
Okay, thank you very much.
other questions? Terry?
I'm still a little confused. This is not a front-facing garage, is it?
No.
Okay.
But Terry, the site plan
It's
for
on the
house-
right side.
You're facing, from the street facing the house, it'll be on your left.
Site plan is rotated, Terry, the second site plan. So mentally, you got to turn the sheet.
Well, I guess what you call the right side versus left side, that's why I'm trying to figure this out.
So, yeah, I was using it as my reference point, just if you're
The
standing.
drawings that you submit show right side where the garage is.
It's my understanding that it's on the same end of the house as the current garage.
Yes.
Only it's set forward farther.
Right.
Barry, I think I can add some clarity on this. So the elevation titled right elevation is actually showing the right elevation of the home. So if you were standing looking at the front of the door and you went off to the right side of the house and you looked right, you would not only see the right side of the elevation showing these 3 windows and the transom bathroom window, but you would also see the garage doors, and that's why it's shown on the right elevation.
Anything else, Terry?
Satisfied?
Ann?
Good.
Set? Yep. Okay. Do you folks have anything else to add? Anybody from the audience have any comments? Okay. Nobody indicating that they had comments? Somebody like to make a motion?
I'll take it.
Terry, just before you make that, just a clarification for Peter. Box chimney,
So on the box chimney,
intended not to, or is it you can?
that's a must, or not appropriate, along with the painted brick.
So-
But you guys can approve things that are musts.
Yeah.
Wait, the painted brick is a must also?
I believe so. I can pull up the guidelines right here. I'm pretty sure it says that surfaces that are not currently painted must not be painted.
So if you were to put new brick in, you could paint that.
Peter, look at your order. What is August the 27th? That's the date that is in the order.
That was a clerical error on my part. It should be September 10th. Those are just draft findings of fact.
Good
The
catch.
official ones will be signed by Tom.
Okay. I thought I might have missed something.
I appreciate the keeping me honest.
Okay.
One of these days, I'll make it through a meeting without a clerical mistake.
But you had indicated you're going to make every attempt to do brick if you can, right? Is that,
That is my preference.
But just paint it,
sorry?
paint it.
The brick will be painted, yeah, and so will
Way.
the ones on the ground, right?
Right, that's what I was gonna go back for that clarity. You said, if it's not painted, you can't paint it, but then that will impact what we had discussed earlier relative to the brick skirt that's on the existing structure.
Motion for painting the brick.
It's not in conformity, but we can still go ahead and approve it.
You just have to list the things that are in conformity and approve that as part of your list.
Painting the brick, boxing the chimney. If that is the case, they go. Either or.
We would grant either or.
That's the
That's the
motion.
way,
The other, both, or neither?
Yep, there you go.
either may.
It looks like I was wrong. It is a should not.
Should not?
The painting or the box?
Piece of cake.
There you go.
Oh, hang on. It just says
We're looking.
covering wall material including wooden siding, wooden shingle, stucco, brick, and stonework with coatings or materials such as vinyl or aluminum siding is not appropriate. Painting brick surface is not appropriate unless the surface was previously painted. So it is a must, because it's in that bold, not appropriate. Just to zoom in for you guys, so you guys can all read it as well.
Included in the motion.
That needs to be included in the motion as things that you're.
When we're doing this then, we're essentially waiving, is that what we're doing?
We'd say not in conformity insofar as these 2 or 3 items, however,
It still remains congruous,
Congruous
But-
because
but
they've
we're
satisfied the
waiving
burden of
We're
proof,
waiving a must, right?
which we can.
which you can't.
No, I know we can,
Right.
but I'm just wondering
Yes.
kind of.
Yes. In fact, I see two of them then. So we're seeing if they go with the boxing with the hardy board, the chimney, that would be one. And the other one would be
painting brick.
painting brick, existing brick.
And that boxing will be street facing, or it'll be on the side?
Say the question again?
The chimney, we'll see it from the,
You would see possibly maybe a side of the chimney.
No, you was, no, you.
all the way to,
no.
yeah, but,
From the street, you will see the portion that's above the roof from the street.
yeah.
In the courtyard, that's where you see the full height of the firebox and the chimney.
Right, but that's not, the courtyard is not street
Right.
facing other than the side of the chimney that sticks out from the house. Is that? a
Let's
fair
go
statement?
back
Where
to the
it's
elevation.
flat.
Oh, it's going to be
Yeah,
flat
so-
with this
So,
side. You have a
Peter,
picture of that, Peter?
if you could go to that elevation that shows the courtyard split.
But the front elevation might be better.
Front elevation.
Yeah,
Yeah.
so I guess
So you
it's
see it
stick,
from
you
the
see,
side.
you see a little bit of it sticking out with
Right.
the intent, if you look at the floor plan,
And
it
it would
comes
be
into.
boxed all the way, your intention would be to box it all the way to the top.
Go back to that slide, Peter.
Sorry, I was trying to make sure that we have, there is a third one. I think additions in the front are not appropriate either. But they've provided proof that others are.
The trees that we see here blocking the view from Linden, are those some of the ones that come out? So you're still going to have quite a bit of,
Oh, yeah.
Oh, no, this is not, it's.
Yeah, this is
A
just-
lot of trees still in
Yeah,
the
so
front.
so everything that we're talking about is on the house side of the drive, the current drive.
got it?
Yeah.
Okay.
And all of that stuff you see right there still remains.
There's still a lot of shielding, in other words,
Yes,
from
yeah,
the
yeah,
road.
and we prefer that.
Right. We-
So can
Maybe
we,
even
We
more.
do.
Maybe
can we
even
link
more.
that to what we're doing? or
Well, he's not
Oh.
proposing to take it out, so.
Well, I know, but if the next person who comes in says, hey,
The next person would have to come along and get a variance or get the village to approve it under a minor work, one or the other.
right, but I'm just wondering if we should say for the record why.
See, he's not proposing to take out the sidewalk either. You want to talk about that? I mean, it's, how many things do we not want to talk about?
Right.
I'm just saying, why are we waiving it? That's all. Don't
not
we want to
waiving
say
it.
for the record? Huh?
That's, I don't believe we're waiving any of those trees because.
I'm not
those
saying
are-
trees.
I
I'm not
believe
saying trees.
Ann's
I'm
getting
talking about
at-
waiving the boxing in based
Oh,
on
okay.
the
I'm sorry.
screening of the trees. That's all I'm saying. Just to
He's trying to give us the burden of
give it
proof.
some meat, thank you. Yes, yeah, because every waiver should have a justification, it seems to me.
Let's hear the motion, and then we can beat it to death.
There we go. Okay, any other discussion before we get a motion on the table? Then we will have time for discussion again on the motion itself.
I know Ann's in the village Terry, I know everyone here is familiar with a lot of these properties, but there's been a lot of new builds, like 170 Everett, that chimney's boxed in. Corner of Fields and Everett, that house is painted brick. It's a new construction, new build. So for me, there's enough congruency within the village, albeit these folks made a wonderful case on congruency on other items, not necessarily this, but had they known, I'm sure they would have done the same. I understand the justification piece, but there's enough for me congruous within the village where you have boxed-in chimneys and painted brick.
Except that this is, these are musts, right? So they're a little different, aren't they? Don't they have a, sorry? Well, are they? I always thought they had more gravity to them.
Since we're discussing.
Sorry to include you in this debate, but this goes
we're
to sort
discussing,
of,
it would be my opinion that allowing the painting of the brick is a great thing for this particular house, for its particular architecture. I think painted brick on the chimney would therefore be perfectly fine. I think that would be far preferable to a boxed-in chimney. So we're allowing the painted brick, but not the boxing, would be my inclination.
Would you like to make that motion?
But Terry's going to take a stab here.
Just one more thing, guys. I just want to remind you that the other must that they're asking permission to do is additions are supposed to be located in the rear side yard. This addition is in the front yard, so your motion needs to speak to that. They provided proof with the L-shaped design.
that's a must also.
Yeah, so there's three musts that you guys are looking at. It's the box chimney, it's the addition in the front yard, and the, I'm sorry, painted brick, my apologies.
David, would you really want to delay this to see all finished drawings?
Yes, sir, I would,
Would?
since you
Okay,
asked.
Let's go ahead and put a motion on the table, and then we'll, like I said, once the motion's there, we still have an opportunity to discuss the motions itself, but let's get one on the table so we're all talking the same thing. I was just confused with what Ann was saying, because I thought she was talking about trees and she's talking about chimneys, so if we get I think if we can get a motion on the table, then we all are talking about the same thing. Before we do that, I just want to read one part of our own guidelines that kind of addresses what Ann brought up a little bit. The Historic Preservation Commission may at times determine that a proposed change or design which does not meet the guidelines is in fact more congruous with the special characteristic of the Pinehurst district than if the property owner had followed the guidelines. Conversely, an application meeting the guidelines can be.
That's part of the order.
Okay,
That, all of what you just said is part of the order.
then, go ahead, make your motion, sir.
Okay. This matter was heard by the Village of Pinehurst Historic Preservation Commission on September 10th, 2020. Having heard the evidence and reviewed any relevant documents submitted by the parties, the commission now makes the following findings and conclusions. The Historic Preservation Commissioner may at times determine that a proposed change or design which does not meet the guidelines is in fact more congruous with the special character of the Pinehurst Historic District than if the property owner had followed the guidelines. Conversely, an application meeting the guidelines could be determined to be incongruous with the character of the district. Strict adherence to the guidelines in those cases is not required if the Historic Preservation Commission clearly states on the record the reasons why the proposed design or improvements are congruous or incongruous before issuing or denying a certificate of appropriateness. Upon due consideration of the application package submitted and the testimony given, the Historic Preservation Commission concludes the following: that the project as proposed is not in conformity with the guidelines. Nevertheless, the applicant has satisfied the burden of persuasion, and the project submitted to any conditions imposed by the commission is deemed congruous with the historic district. Amen.
I hear a second. No second. Motion is not on the table. Somebody want to try a different motion?
I'd like to bring back the suggestion that Terry made about continuing to give the applicants the opportunity to bring their design a little farther along to produce drawings that represent more accurately what they're proposing.
Okay. Rest of the commissioners? If I understand, he's.
What would that do to you guys?
I mean, basically, I guess I'm having a little bit of a hard time in terms of not understanding that the overall look of the house is not determinable based on what it is that we illustrated today. Inasmuch as I've looked at a lot of plans, sometimes it's very difficult to get an overall feeling of what that finished product is going to be until the house is finished. Even complete drawn-out plans, oftentimes, you have to know where you're going. You have to understand what the finishes are going to be able to even, in my opinion, to be able to visualize what that finished product is going to be. And sometimes just looking at the drawings, unless somebody has shown you a picture with some detailed understanding that this is what is actually emulating, sometimes even with that, it's difficult to come to that conclusion. My personal opinion is, I think, the fact that the cornice board is not laid out, I would hope that wouldn't be a reason that we're delayed. If anything, I would like that maybe be something that I have to submit it to Peter, to submit back to you guys, to make sure that you can see that detail, but that we're able to proceed in terms of getting the permit and all those other things that we need to get going before it gets cold.
Given their agreement to some of the answers you provided, is that sufficient for you to?
Well, I guess to be as candid as I can be, I'm delighted you're doing what you're doing. I think it'll look great, but the drawing doesn't help. On the other hand, I want to make sure you do your project, because I think it will be a plus for the community. I'm doing that, I'm saying that, guessing what I think it will look like without having an accurately drawn elevation with enough detail to answer the questions that I've posed.
Would the commissioners agree with me that any changes that this couple wants to make is going to be a significant improvement over what's there?
Absolutely.
Well,
Well, my only concern, I guess I'm fine. You come at it with different, like, I mean, he's an architect. I'm a lawyer, so I guess my chief goal is to make sure, and they're just stuck in this process with me right now, is that we justify, that's all, when we're making waivers of musts, that's all. That's my concern.
And that's clearly acceptable to do, as long as we put, as Terry read, that we have to state in there, the record, the reasons why we decided to deviate from those. And I'm not sure, and that's why I hesitated, Terry, when you did, because I thought there was more coming to that motion.
those are the specifics that have to come out that I'm not prepared to offer.
Okay, and that's fine, but I just thought that's why I hesitated, to be honest with you. I thought you were going to offer them. And I'm not saying you had to, I'm just saying that's,
I don't have the objections, that's around the table, so somebody else needs to throw that out there.
So, I don't want to hold, personal note, I don't want to hold the family up. I can see the vision, not saying everyone else needs to see it. For me, I can see it, I understand the feel. I have family down Linden, I drive past this twice a week, not as much as Terry. This would be a great addition. I think if Terry's motion with 3 qualifications, which is the addition of the addition heading towards the street, towards the front of the house, which is not what we want to do, however, we can still approve that. 2 would be painting of brick, something we shouldn't do, but however, if it's congruous and we deem so, we can vote on that and approve that. And then 3, boxing in of a chimney.
But can we just say that it's
let's
screened
look at
from
it this way.
the,
We can do those as different motions, too. They do not have to be included in the same motion. We can, 4 different motions, if it needs to go to that many, to clarify who wants to go do it. But I mean, we need to be able to address those issues. Maybe we can either do multiple motions, or we can take a moment and somebody sit down and draft the complete motion, take, for example, what Terry started with, and then we can work on drafting something together so that it's a complete motion to be able to vote on. I mean, I don't know why we didn't get a second, but it sounds like you're saying it wasn't complete.
Had we had those 3 qualifications, I would have got a second. And I think Terry wanted to do that. I think he was leaving that open for us to someone step in and add 3 qualifications to it.
Well, I can do that based on what Peter has in his recommendation.
Yeah. And if we want to take a couple of
If
minutes. if
I
you
can
all
read
don't-
that in if that's what you would be comfortable with.
Yeah.
So let's hammer out the motion then a little further.
We're going to amend the motion.
Okay. Well, like, it hasn't been approved, so we can.
Right, so
we
we're,
can add to it,
we are right to
subtract
do
to it,
that.
whatever you want.
The proposed modification of the front entrance will result in additional architectural and character-defining elements that are comparable to elements featured on other homes within the district. The front addition, while not in conformity with guidelines, is not uncommon with the historic district. There are other homes within the historic district that have front additions extending past the principal facade of the structure. On Linden Road specifically, there are 2 homes within 300 feet of the property that have similar building footprints. Also, in this case, the applicant is limited by the original placement of the structure. The existing structure is located over 100 feet from the front property line and 43 feet from the rear property line. Had the structure been located more central to the lot, a rear or side addition could have been easily recommended. Does that cover what anybody else want, what? Feel free to amend the amendment.
Right, right. Well, there's nothing to amend yet because we don't have an amendment, but I think that covers one of the issues. The next issue would be, just picking down the road, would be the box of the chimney.
I would, in my opinion, I would favor sticking with the requirement that it be brick, but painting it is okay.
Okay?
I can get on board with that.
Yeah, and I would be fine with all of these, as we just said, they're congruous, and they're also screened by trees, too. Just to put that in. I'd be fine.
That's the end of what you're talking about?
I'm just saying, if you put all, let's just go 1, 2, 3, and then
I'd be
they're
happy to
screened.
yield to the lady.
No, but I'm just saying, they're all congruent. I mean, you've just said they're basically congruous. That's all we need to say, right? That's all.
Well,
So all three issues.
say it.
In my opinion,
I don't
since-
I don't want you to put words in my mouth and vice versa, so say what you want to say as part of the amendment.
in my opinion, what we're struggling with are.
We have to get the wording right.
I have more issues than we are even speaking of these short 2 or 3, because the sketchiness of the drawings. In my mind, the way to get around that is to laboriously go through all those things that we just went through earlier, that describe in the approval that you get what it is that your intent is, because the drawing doesn't show what your intent is. We talked through what your intent is, and I'm on board with it. We're together. But I can't say I can't approve the drawing because it doesn't say that. So in my mind, I would add several things onto, or either separate motions or a bunch of conditions on the one motion. Might be easier just to build it into a bunch of motions.
Mr. Herring, just so you know, in a quasi-judicial proceeding, what they've testified to is part of the record, and it's considered fact. So when they said that the windows will be level, now they have to be level because they said that they're going to be level. So
Well,
in a way,
but I
they,
can't say that I approve the drawings. I can't approve the
not approving
application.
just the
You're not
drawings, you're
approving any-
approving the
we
package
never
as
approve
submitted
any drawings.
and the testimony provided. So you're,
Staff does that.
Our only issue is congruity. And if they testify to a modification of a drawing, then that is acceptable as proof, because it's sworn testimony by the ones
I
that do
guess
it.
it makes it that much more difficult to
Well, it-
put into words.
David,
Just
the
words.
last part of the original motion says, subject to any conditions
Right.
that we impose.
Well, those are the conditions I think we should
So
enumerate.
that, you're open to do that right now,
Right.
as I understand it.
That's right. We can enumerate any that we want. It just says that we have to do that if we're going against one of them that are not allowed, such as the one you mentioned, Terry, saying that it went forward. We explained why. We said it was congruous because we know several others in the community and the layout of the lot. So that explains why we're exempting that issue.
But David's issue is because of the incompleteness, if you will, of the drawings, I guess, or,
It's,
I don't know if that's the right word.
And I think that part of the requirement is that the house be harmonious. And I would say that,
congruent with the issue. We can't start sticking other words in there. It's
well, I
congruity.
can find it in here, read it if you'd like, but it says harmonious. each piece of the house is harmonious with the other parts of the house.
Right.
So to do that, it's not possible for me to visualize it based on words without a drawing. I don't know that we've ever reviewed or that the Historic Preservation Commission has ever approved something based on words alone.
The sworn testimony carries the same weight as written paper.
No debate there.
Okay, so if they provide written paper and then in sworn testimony modify that paper, and you believe what they're telling you is true, it's sworn and you think that they're telling the truth, then that modifies the piece of paper. They don't have to have a written piece of paper to be able to modify.
Provided I can,
Well,
in good conscience, imagine that it will
Right,
look good.
Exactly. If
So-
you can do that, that's
But,
fine. If you
I mean,
can't,
I only have one vote here.
I know
So
what you're saying.
Well, the other point of it is, when Peter does his inspection, if it isn't consistent with what we've approved, you get another shot at it.
do you have, when you do an inspection, the entire recorded record?
Well, not the entire record. I have my punch list that's through the record, so things like the windows will be level was on that punch list.
That would
The
be
brick
on
will
there?
be painted to match the house will be on the punch list. 9 trees in total will be coming down. If I observe that a 10th tree came down, they didn't tell me,
That would all be there.
it's all there. It's a punch list of things I look at in reference to the also elevations submitted.
Well,
So
one
I
of
will
the
go
things
off
that
the
will happen
elevations.
here, you're going to have to get architectural drawings, right?
Yeah, we have to complete the process.
Would it be inappropriate that you, well, it would be appropriate, I think, that at that stage,
So they would be submitting updated drawings when they get their building permits.
right?
They won't
anyways.
get the building permit unless they have updated drawings, which includes all of the things that you're talking about. Because
Is it part of the building review process
of our scope.
includes the historic preservation's recorded record?
Yes, no.
As a first check to move down the line.
So if they don't get their CO today, they don't get a building permit. If they don't satisfy the conditions that you guys place on any case, whether it's this case or future cases, they don't get their building permit. The COA comes first, the building permit comes second, and then I'm the last sign off on any certificate of,
I guess for me, I don't want to hold them up either. I mean, I don't want to be a stick in the mud. I think what they're doing is going to be great. I don't want to be the roadblock. But to the point, that you're going to have to do these drawings anyway, if not to get a building permit, to actually build it. It has to be drawn well enough so that a builder can build it. So this isn't an additional hurdle that I think should come before us, just like it comes before the building permit.
I still want to move forward with a motion.
just
We,
to-
we need a second on that motion, and then we can vote, and if
to-
somebody objects to it,
Just
they-
to clarify, that original motion died because nobody motioned or seconded it, so you can't really amend that for the record. You have to
There's
start,
no amendment to anything.
you had to
because we never
restate
had
the
an
motion for
original
the
motion.
record.
Right.
If
You
you,
amend something that didn't exist.
if you would remake the exact same motion, the way you made it, and just the second piece, just add the addition of painted brick, I'm on board with that. Is the applicant fine with the chimney? Would you all be fine with painted brick?
I didn't understand what you want. Why don't you do it?
Richard, if you want to shorten it, you can just read what's on screen, and then, so you'd read the top portion, and then you read the second one, with the project as proposed nonconformity, and then list the reasons for the record. And that would be an easy way for you to shorten it.
You don't feel like I'm stealing your thunder here, Terry?
He succeeded. Go ahead. I don't think he's arguing.
I yield.
That the project as proposed is not in conformity with the guidelines. Nevertheless, let me remake that.
Start from scratch, right? Reading the stuff off of there and then go right down.
Just upon due consideration?
Yes.
Upon due consideration of the application package submitted and the testimony given, the Historic Preservation Commission concludes the following: that the project as proposed is not in conformity with the guidelines, insofar as the proposed addition protrudes towards the front of the property towards Linden Road, and that the applicant has proposed painting existing brick as well as new brick. Nevertheless, the applicant has satisfied the burden of persuasion, and the project, subject to any conditions imposed by the commission, is deemed congruous with the Pinehurst Historic District.
I'll second that.
Motion's made and seconded. Any other discussion on the motion?
So you don't want the hardy, is that it?
I wasn't actually given the choice.
Oh.
So, given that it's been deemed that it be painted,
Yeah, I thought she wanted the choice.
I'd like to offer up a few friendly amendments to your motion. The first is that although not illustrated in the drawings, the windows with transoms will be set such that they can be built with a header, meaning they will be lowered. That the top of all of the windows, with the exception of the transom itself, all of the windows on the house, with the exception of the transoms themselves, will align horizontally. That it's an awful lot. The roof slope of the gable over the front door will match the rest of the roofs and may be raised so as to provide the desired prominence. That the garage doors are in fact sectional. That the bathroom windows are in fact not double hung.
Well,
I think that's it.
all right, but they testified that the doors going in were sectional.
I'd like it as an amendment to the.
oh, the cost of garage doors, actually, that open, are so cost prohibitive, they wouldn't even be in conversation. They're gonna be a rolling garage door.
Hold on, let us work on our
We're not
motion, and then
objecting.
we'll come.
Yeah, we're not objecting to
We'll
what
come
you
back
want.
to you again, I
Yeah.
promise.
What you want is what I want. We're together. I'm just trying to make the record match your intent. That's all.
Well, we're gonna get there. We got time. We're gonna get through this.
Do we have a second?
Motion.
Yeah.
I mean, you can
Do you want
accept it or
amended
decline
to
it.
the way he said?
I only have one vote. That's it. Just one
Yeah,
vote.
I would amend it insofar as if you all would prefer to allow the boxing of the chimney as well, but the rest, I wouldn't amend it. You're free to make another motion if that doesn't pass.
So does
Second, do I hear a second on his amendment?
We did something last time where you said it was going to be noted somewhere on the COA. Can that be done with this?
Well, he's got a motion to amend the original motion, which we need to resolve, and then we can, but before that, do I hear a second on his amendment to the motion?
I think it's superfluous based on what you said already, given the testimony that we had.
Yes or no, do I hear?
No, but in the interest of moving this forward, I will second it.
Any other discussion on the friendly amendment?
Let me just ask, can you just add that to the COA the way we did I think at last meeting we did that?
Let's address this motion, and then we can address that if that's, because what he's proposing is conditions, and I don't think the person who made the motion is happy with those conditions.
Okay,
So
so
let's-
it was amendment request, the motion
Yeah.
was made on the amendment, it's been seconded. Now we gotta vote on his amendment to what Richard said. So that's all we're voting on right now is the friendly amendment, which turned into a motion, which Terry seconded. And so now we need to vote on it.
But you can't answer my question as to whether or not, we did something 2 meetings ago, I think, where
Yeah,
it was
so-
added.
In this case, if you approve his motion, they will be included as conditions like last time. So if you approve this motion, they would be added as conditions. But just to specify, they've already testified that the garage doors will be on rollers. They've already testified that the brick is going to be painted a certain color. They've already
And that
testified.
was the case 2 meetings ago, as I recall. There were a lot of little clarifications.
Little
that were-
clarifications, but in this case, a lot of the conditions that he was mentioning were explicitly testified before you guys even asked questions about it, of what they were proposing. So they are already saying that they're going to do something. So last time it was
Any other
modifications.
discussion on the amendment? That's all we're voting on is the amendment. I want to do this by roll call, starting with Terry, please.
No,
And what is this, I'm sorry, what is the
This
motion
is his
do?
amendment that he stated
They made an
It'll be-
originally. The original one's still on the table.
It'll be an amendment,
It's an amendment to the original motion.
as opposed to being part of the COA, just noting it.
just whatever David said.
His amendment would be those
Richard made it-
conditions you're
made
talking
a motion.
about.
Okay, then I'll have to say no, because I would like it to be the way we did last time.
Yes.
No.
Amendment, the amendment to the motion did not carry.
What did you vote?
No.
Now we go back to the.
One
ori-
yes.
Now we go back to his original,
Now we're back on the table with his original motion.
And I had a second,
And you had the
and
second,
then there was a proposed amendment.
which was voted down.
And then, Ann, would you like to propose an amendment that includes some conditions?
You mean,
So,
following on to what,
right now, there are no conditions placed on this.
well, it seems to me we should do the same, I'm just discussing now, not making a motion, but it seems to me we should, to be consistent whenever they're, just to clarify, and if it's put on the COA, doesn't that make life easier
So,
for everyone?
last time, what we did was we had the applicant send updated elevations
Uh-huh.
that reflected the change that they testified to.
Idea.
So
So-
just for consistency's
How do we get to
sake.
review that?
What?
How and when do we review that?
It's just submitted to staff, and it checks the marks, so the last one we did was 105 Azalea. You had them submit revised elevations that showed aluminum-clad windows that were 2/2 versus the proposed 6/6. So they submitted revised elevations that are 2/2.
It would be a staff function to confirm that it's now,
Correct.
As
Because it's a
testified
condition,
to.
it's a part of your approval. I can't issue a COA until they've met that condition. Once I issue the COA, it's because they have met that condition. I will not issue any COA until they provide updated elevations, if that's a condition you'd like to place.
And that's what we did
just
last time,
an
right?
amendment to submit
Do you have
updated
issue with the
elevation.
original motion?
Sorry?
You have issue with the original motion?
Original motion, I would have added the boxed in as an option, right?
Would you like to make that amendment to the original motion?
No. You had everything there, I would just add it.
all the question.
I'm happy to remake,
Okay.
if we want to vote on the motion, kill the motion, and remake a motion.
Well, we can, I need to have you restate the motion so that I can understand for sure what it is that you said, because we've gone around several times. So please state the motion,
That's fair.
because this is the next thing we're going to vote on, is what he says this time around.
Well, before you do that, the suggestion that we can put as a condition that the applicant update the elevations to represent what they testified to would be a great amendment. I'd be okay with that, as opposed to trying to do it in words. It's even better than trying to do it in words. We're going to have to do that eventually anyway.
The applicant will be doing that anyway.
Right.
With architectural drawings, working with
Exactly.
staff. So
But we-
to me,
but
it's,
not a
to me,
part-
it's redundant.
It doesn't become.
Richard's going to make a motion, and we'll go from there.
What
I
I
mean, we
say,
can
we have
argue,
to do
we
it
can argue
anyway.
this to the end, and we can make amendments to it if we want to, but I need a motion on the table. He's made one, it's been seconded. I want to hear what the motion is again, because we've discussed it several times. If we need to go back at it again, we'll do it. Please, Richard.
But make an addition to it this time.
That's fine. You're withdrawing your original motion?
Withdrawing the original motion, remaking a motion. Upon due consideration of the application package submitted and the testimony given, the Historic Preservation Commission concludes the following: that the project as proposed is not in conformity with the guidelines insofar as the new addition protrudes towards the front of the house, towards Linden Road, as well as the existing brick and new brick on the addition will be painted, as well as the boxing in of the chimney with hardy siding. Nevertheless, the applicant has satisfied the burden of persuasion, and the project, subject to any conditions imposed by the commission, is deemed congruous with the Pinehurst Historic District.
Second.
Motion's made and seconded. Any further discussion on the motion?
Let me revisit the request that we add a simple amendment to the motion, that the drawings be updated to reflect the applicant's testimony.
So that's your amendment, your proposed amendment?
Yep.
But what Richard just read said any conditions, right? What is that?
What you're discussing now. So when he stated it, he had no conditions. Now there's a discussion point that there would be an addition of a condition for updated elevations.
I got it.
That's your motion for amendment to Richards.
Well, we're discussing now. I'm still discussing. Here's some
Well,
feedback as opposed to making it a motion, going through the whole vote process, you know.
I can get on board with that, because it's, it makes
The
no.
amendment, modify it, please read
Would
it.
you like to make the amendment?
Yeah, the amendment would add the condition that the applicant shall submit updated elevations that represent their testimony.
Would not prevent you today from getting your COA and moving forward. I can second that.
Friendly amendment's been made. Any other discussion on the amendment?
Vote on the condition?
You're voting on the amendment,
He
which is
made
the
it a
condition.
friendly amendment, so there's no vote on it. He accepted it, included in his,
I just didn't hear Richard say it, it's okay.
that he accepted
I accepted.
the fact that he said that. Okay? Any questions? Any others? I'm not trying to run over you, I'm just trying to understand,
I have objections to the amendment.
however you think you need to vote.
I'm just telling you, I have objections to the amendment.
We're still in
I
discussion,
think it's
right?
superfluous.
I would agree,
Okay. Then,
but I still approved it.
Then why did the chair allow it to be part of the amendment, but part of his original?
he accepted it.
I did.
As a friendly
He
amendment.
accepted it?
He accepted it as a friendly
To
amendment.
allow us to proceed.
I'll withdraw my second.
Then I'll second it.
Let this die, and I'll remake one final one.
Wait a minute,
that should-
I did second what he said. And that's the way it has to be unless we vote again on what
I agree,
was proposed.
but he accepted what he said.
But then my second doesn't mean anything anymore.
Okay, so you're going to withdraw it?
So Ann seconded it.
I did second it.
Okay, so Ann seconded it. You withdraw it, let the record show that Terry withdrew it and that Ann seconded it, the new modified. Any other questions before I go on? Okay? Roll call. All in favor? Or Terry, not all in favor, but my question is, how do you vote?
Abstain.
Okay?
Yes.
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 Motion carried, 4-1. Oh, 4-1 abstention. Terry abstained. Anything else? Folks, you got your COA.
Thank you.
Took us a while to get there, and I appreciate your patience.
I understand.
Look forward to seeing it happen. It's going to be a
Yes.
nice addition. And welcome to town.
Any other business in front of the commission?
Thank you.
It's happening twice in a row now. I hate to be, you know, we got to work out.
Yes.
a way to do this.
Just take them off your hands so that you don't have to worry about disposing of them.
Want to talk about it on record?
No.
Do you have any other business?
Nope.
Terry, do
That's what we would do.
you have any other business?
Do you need a copy?
Do you have any other
Let me see,
business
what am I-
before the commission? Okay. Motion to adjourn. Yeah, well, Peter, do you have anything else in front of the commission? Do you have nothing else for the commission tonight? I hear a motion to adjourn. Motion made to adjourn,
Second.
seconded, all in favor?
Aye.
Passed unanimously. Thank you, folks.